I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. My life has value.
Good afternoon, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Global Watchman News. My name is Lori Swan, and I hope you guys are all doing well. We ask that you do keep it family friendly. If you are in the chat room, there will be moderators in there to make sure that we stay within the terms of service put forth to us by the platform you're utilizing tonight. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Take a minute to hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, so you know we go live. Ernie.
Lori, we are in it today. Woo.
This is our third live stream.
It's my first, your third.
My third. Okay, yeah. Third, but it's the channel's third live stream for today. If you haven't already gone over and checked out the other two, that the news had to be brought to the forefront, so I went live earlier today. But we saved the Feast de la Resistance for last. Anyway.
I heard the word feast. I'm kind of hungry. Anybody want some deer steaks?
Deer jerky?
Seasoned with a high dose of kuru.
All right. Guys.
Heard it's really good.
All joking aside, guys, this is what we're going to talk to you guys tonight about is something that you need to talk to everybody about. Your friends, your neighbors, your family, anybody who is around you within earshot. We are facing a time of a food crisis here in the United States. And we've been warning you about this for a while. Just so happens that right now, during this crisis, this food crisis, we have reports of epizootic hemorrhagic disease. And I'm going to pull up our first screen here which is called zombie deer disease from the CDC. Now, I saw this a couple of years ago, 2018, 2019. I'm going to tell you, I thought it was a joke. Have you seen this before?
I don't think I ever have. I just see stuff like in other animals that cause them to go berserk or something like that, but nothing in deer.
I just lost our chat. Do you have our chat over on the right? There it is. It's back. Never mind. Yeah, I mean, I don't, I when you look at this, when you look at this headline, zombie deer disease, you think, yeah, whatever. But we did a little bit more searching today. The Center for Disease Control has issued a warning about a deadly disease that is spreading across the United States. Chronic wasting disease, also known as zombie deer disease, is an illness that infects the brain, spine, and tissue of elk, moose, and deer. According to the CDC, the deadly disease starts by infecting the brain and is passed through contact with contaminated body fluids and tissues. Symptoms include emaciation from forgetting to eat, stumbling, aggression, lack of fear of people, excessive thirst or urination, and excessive drooling. There is no treatment or vaccine for CWD, and the disease is fatal, the CDC said. The CDC raised the alarm about the potential for CWD to infect humans after a July 17th study showed monkeys who ate infected deer meat contracted the deadly disease. Right now, I don't know. I'm not going to read this next line because this is from 2019, and I don't know if there's any cases in humans. But it said the CDC however, is going to continue to warn the public and test their venison or elk meat for CWD. So let's go to fast forward from 2019 to Wednesday, August 31st, 2022. 13 Ohio counties now confirming cases of zombie deer. It's not only in Ohio, we've got it in New York State, we've got it in the Dakotas. I'm going to show you, I think I have a map. We're going to play. 13 different Ohio counties are now confirming cases of zombie deer. The infected animals they're infected with Epizootic Hemorrhagic disease. The Ohio Department of Natural Resources Division of Wildlife has confirmed cases of EHD in white-tailed deer in Athens, Butler, Champaign, Franklin, Greene, Hamilton, Highland, Madison, Perry, Preble, Ross, Union, and Warren counties. People have spotted so-called zombie deer in local neighborhoods for the second time in a little over a week. Newly released body camera video from Coleraine Police shows the moments a deer was found on the site of a Blue Rock Mountain Road early last week. Let's take a look.
Yet these so-called zombie deer have now been spotted in 13 Ohio counties. Now, the animals are infected with epizootic hemorrhagic disease, or EHD.
The deer were found in at least 4 tri-state counties in Ohio for the second time in a little over a week. Local 12's Genesis Nara shows us some police body camera footage of these zombie deer and explains what to do if you spot one.
Yeah, the zombie deer there. That's what he was. Yeah, you probably didn't believe me. Well, you said zombie deer. I was like,
yep, it's true. Spottings of zombie deer are becoming more and more common in the greater Cincinnati area. Body cam video from Coleraine Police show the moments this deer was found on the side of Blue Rock Road early last week. Police say the deer was found standing and staring off into the distance, never fazed by sirens or officers shouting. And turns out this behavior is not uncommon. On Sunday, over in the city of Oxford, police found this deer on the south side of town.
The deer was panting. There was blood coming from the eyes, or at least one eye, and it had swelling in its face, which, putting all those together, it was indicative of this EHD.
EHD is transmitted by biting midges known as no-see-ums or gnats that breed and live in small pools of standing water. According to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, some symptoms include disorientation and show little to no fear of humans, pronounced swelling of head, neck, tongue, and eyelids, weakness, circling, and other odd neurological signs.
We have learned that EHD is common in the late summer, early fall season, although this is particularly a bad year for it. We were told that the Oxford area and Houston Woods area has been particularly bad, according to their statistics.
The EHD virus is not infectious to people or pets, but sightings of a sick or dead deer should be reported. You can find all that information posted inside my story over on local12.com.
Did something catch you as interesting in that video, Ernie?
It's a couple different things. One is calling them zombie deer. Two, how are they contracting it? From mosquitoes or gnats?
They're saying,
It's
yeah,
by
from
standing water.
I pulled up this right here. It shows that it's from pretty much mosquitoes or no-see-ums, like they called them, or gnats. And it just goes down and eventually can transmit to humans. What sparked my interest in that story was a few things. First off, disorientation, a violence, and twitching are some of the three of the symptoms. But also blood from the eyes and the orifices. Clearly, this is a hemorrhagic disease or virus. It reminds me of Ebola.
It does.
And if it transmits from animal to human, the ramifications for the timing of this is impeccable because, like I said, we've got food shortages, possibility of these food shortages coming up. And what better way to infect the people than to infect the very food sources that we're going to have to rely on should we have a further breakdown in the food chain.
Absolutely. And it goes back to what we talked about. You talked about in the second video about the red heifer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so many things that are lining up right now. It's almost impossible to keep track of them on a daily basis. It really is. Things are changing. They're telling us, look over here while this is taking place, when there's definitely things that we need to be looking at. If anything affects our food sources, our food or water, that should be primary on your things to watch, especially if you are a hunter. If you go out, hunting season, I believe, starts in, I think bow season may have already started. If not, it's going to be starting within the next week. And then, shotgun season is going to start. So if you're out there and you're a hunter, you need to take note of this, because if you bring this contaminated food into your home and feed it to your kids and your family, they're going to be infected as well.
Exactly. And the thing is, my area, for instance, there's an overpopulation of deer.
Mm-hmm.
So they're expecting to be giving out a ton of doe tags.
Right. Yeah, my son was just talking about that. You're kind of in the area of him. He's in the Western New York area. You're yourself of that. But he was talking about they were, it used to be that they only gave so many doe tags out. Now they're giving them to everybody this year.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a staple in these parts during
Mm-hmm.
the winter time. Because you got to think, one large buck is going to feed the entire family for a good part of the year.
Exactly. My family, my husband's family, my ex-husband's family, my boy's father, his family has been hunting since we got married in 1984, and in decades before that, which has been passed down to two of my boys. So this is a staple. This is something, my son sends me venison jerky every year. Now I'm skeptical. I mean, and I did send him, I warned him about this. I told him about it, So we've got a couple of videos that we've, here we go. This is, it says it may contain disturbing content. Viewer discretion is advised.
Are spotted here in the tri-state, the 13 Ohio counties. Now, the animals are infected with epizootic hemorrhagic disease, or EHD.
The deer were found in at least 4 tri-state counties in Ohio for the second time in a little over a week. Local 12's Genesis Nara shows us some police body camera footage of these zombie deer and explains what to do if you spot one.
Zombie deer. Yeah, you might not believe me. Well, you said zombie deer. I'm like,
Yep, it's true. Spottings of zombie deer are becoming more and more common in the greater Cincinnati area. Body cam video from Colerain Police show the moments this deer was found on the side of Blue Rock Road early last week. Police say the deer was found standing and staring off into the distance, never fazed by sirens or officers shouting. It turns out this behavior is not uncommon. On Sunday, over in the city of Oxford, police found this deer on the south side of town.
The deer was panting. There was blood coming from the eyes, or at least one eye, and it's swelling in its face.
You see that? The flesh is just like slouching off him, and he's not even phased.
Oh yeah.
Wow. We didn't see that on the other video. I was going to stop it because I was going to say, oh, we already saw this video, but then I decided to keep it going, and I'm kind of glad I did. There's another one.
Fine case of zombie deer disease. Chronic waste disease. The zombie deer disease is called chronic waste disease. It causes damage of the deer's brain, loss of body condition, behavioral changes, salvation, and death. The disease is transmitted directly through animal-to-animal contact, making the deers basically turn into an actual zombie. Thankfully, there have been no reported cases of the disease infecting humans. However, scientists are actually worried that the disease could spread to humans. Do you think the disease will infect humans?
Well, if it can be spread to humans, absolutely, I think we're going to start seeing cases of this, especially like we just said, with deer season coming up.
Yeah, it's a trying time for all of us. I mean, we're being hit on all fronts. They're going to take away the food to have us hunt, and then can't hunt because we're going to contract this disease and die. Or better yet, the world will turn into World War Z.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Let's see, what else do I got here? Another article here. Deadly deer disease is spreading. Could it strike people too? This is from a couple years ago, actually. It says it was a chilly morning in Fiegel. A wildlife biologist for the Pennsylvania Game Commission was with a half dozen other state scientists in a garage in the small town of Beauvier, covered in head-to-toe white Tyvek suits. They were surgically extracting hundreds of brainstem samples from deer killed by hunters during the state's rifle season. The samples will be analyzed for signs of deadly pathogen. Formal name for the ailment is chronic wasting disease, or CWD. It's also called Epizootic Hemorrhagic disease, which is what when we researched it, that's what we had to research it under. It causes weight loss, stumbling, listlessness, and certain death, having inspired a creepier colloquial name of zombie deer disease. What's interesting is that the symptoms of this completely line up with Ebola. And if you watched World War Z, the zombies.
It makes you go to think about the thing we're not supposed to talk about, the effects that's causing in the human body, compared with this disease that pretty much eat the brain.
Right.
They're just walking around being controlled.
Exactly. And as we were researching this, Ernie and I, brought up something else. And when I first gave this to you, I said zombie deer disease, and I said kuru, because the symptoms are the same of kuru, correct?
It is correct. And kuru is part of the family that contains a certain protein, which is similar to like mad cow disease. It occurs in different animals all across the world for over 100 years, I believe. And this article that's entitled "Mad Cows, Cannibalism, and the Shaking Death" goes over this a lot.
Well,
let's go to the second. Kuru and other human forms of mad cow disease are extremely rare neurodegenerative conditions, but they occasionally make the headlines when new cases are found. The latest case was reported earlier this month, that of a New Hampshire man who contracted variant Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease via contaminated neurosurgical instruments. The same disease claimed the lives of 156 British people during the late 1990s, all of them who had eaten infected beef. Consequently, the European Commission imposed a worldwide ban on British beef, and the British government ordered the culling of hundreds of thousands of cows in order to contain the disease. Since then, no cases have arisen from the consumption of infected beef. Nevertheless, research suggests that kuru, VCJD, and other related diseases could have incubation periods of at least several decades and perhaps up to 50 years. So this is a slow incubating disease. You won't notice it right away, but over time, the symptoms could develop and eventually cause neurological harm and death. What do you think about that, Lori?
Well, I'm reading here, and I know that kuru has to be, you have to consume the infected meat, and it usually is by cannibalism. It's usually infected brain tissue is where it usually is, where it gathers in the brain. It says the film clip above shows several victims of the disease called kuru. They are, or rather were, members of the South Fior, a tribe of approximately 8,000 people who inhabit the Okapa subdistrict of the Eastern Highland province of Papua New Guinea. In the 1950s and 60s, a kuru epidemic swept through the South Fior, claiming the lives of more than 1,000 members of the tribe. Later, it was established that the disease was transmitted by the tribe's practice of ritualistic mortuary cannibalism. The word kuru means shaking death in the Fior language and describes the characteristic symptoms of the disease. Because it affects mainly the cerebellum, part of the brain involved in the coordination of movement, the first symptoms to manifest themselves in those affected with the disease would typically be an unsteady gait and tremors. As the disease progresses, victims become unstable, unable to stand or eat, and eventually die between 6 to 12 months later after symptoms first appear. Sounds exactly like what they said with the deer. The deer are withering away because they forget to eat. They don't, their minds are affected by it. So,
and the article that you were talking about previously was stating it was being contracted by bugs in water.
Right.
Now, from this article, when it talks about Kuru or mad cow disease or CJD, it's incorporated by cannibalism. Now, upon further research, we figured out why that disease was spreading, and especially in Great Britain.
Do you want me to pull up the timeline? The Centers for Food Safety, is that the one?
Yes, go right ahead.
Here we go. And you had told me, you said you remember back in the 1980s that Kuru was mad cow disease was taking over in Europe and Britain, and I had forgotten until I started reading the articles, and I was like, oh my God, that was the 1980s. It seems like I thought it was much sooner than that. I didn't realize it was the 1980s. Time's flying.
Right. And if you look at the timeline, beginning in 1986, cattle in Britain began to suffer from a condition similar to scrappy in sheep, nicknamed mad cow disease, due to behavior of the sick cows. The cause is unknown, though some suspect the feeding of rendered scrappy infected sheep to cattle.
So basically what they were doing, they were feeding scraps of infected sheep. Is that even... Why? What? Why would you do that?
It could be a variety of reasons.
Cows
could be from a lack of protein that the cows have to produce more milk.
But cows are herbivores.
They are. They had to have been mixing it in with vegetation or putting it into the soil.
Wow.
Because the more protein a cow consumes, the more milk that the cow produces.
Right, but what I'm saying is, you can't put a slab of meat in front of a cow and think that he's going to eat it. He's not going to.
Right,
he's a herbivore. Now, pigs, on the other hand, well, they'll eat anything. They'll eat human flesh. They'll eat flesh right across the board. But a cow and bovine is a straight herbivore. That is insane that they would feed meat. Okay, anyways, carry on. For 1988. Woo!
Yep, 421 cattle have been diagnosed with BSE in Britain. As we move on to the early 1990s, the British government insists the disease poses no threat to humans. An early advisory committee stated that the cattle will be a dead-end host. House cats began dying from beef byproducts in their pet food. 5 types of antelope die in British zoos from TSEs that have been fed commercial cattle feed. Through all of this, the British government continues to adamantly insist that British beef is perfectly safe and BSE is no threat to humans. As it persists on, 5 years later, 120,000 cattle was diagnosed with BSE.
Okay, stop right there. You mean to tell me, okay, first off, we've just established that it could take up to 50 years for Kuru to be diagnosed in a human being. It can sit there and fester and just be doing its thing in our brains, okay? And they're trying to say that 120,000 cattle were diagnosed with it, but yet no human was contaminated with it. I'm calling BS on that.
Right. Now, with those animal products and feed products, they often contain elements of beef or pork or stuff like that to enhance the product, to add extra protein too. So you can't forget that. Like regular feed can contain byproducts of those types of animals. In the mid 1990s, British banned the feeding of meat and bone meal to animals, and it's used as farm fertilizer. Hence why I told you that it can be used as ground vegetation, and begins tracking individual animals and testing any cow over 30 months old that is intended for human consumption. But by the May of 1995, Stephen Churchill, who was 19 at the time, became the first victim of a new version of Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. He is one of 3 CJD deaths in 1995.
Wow.
The following year, There was 10 cases of CJD in people aged under 42. And this is the first time they admitted that it could be transmitted to humans in a variant form. What do we learn the term variant?
Yeah, exactly. Variant. It seems like there's always a variant to everything that they put out. It says that in 1996, after this point, 4.5 million cattle were destroyed. What are we seeing right now with our food chain? We've got literally hundreds of thousands of chickens and cattle and pigs being killed worldwide. It's not just in the United States. They're doing it worldwide right now because of disease.
Absolutely. And this timeline is very telling if you read carefully. A British coroner in 1996 ruled that Peter Hall, a 20-year-old vegetarian, died of CJD, contracted it from eating beef burgers as a child.
Right. Okay. All right. Here we go.
All right. And some estimates are that 3 British farmers per week are killing themselves. The following year, 21 victims in Britain have been confirmed. 97, the Food and Drug Administration bans protein made from cows, sheep, deer, and other so-called ruminants in feed for other ruminants.
Wait a second, let me close down. Okay.
So this disease is what people don't understand. You're a vegetarian, but a lot of the food that you eat contains animal byproducts.
Oh yeah, it does. You really need to check some of the things that especially if you don't want to eat pork products. There's a lot of things. This is a map of just the United States, and I'll pull it up. This is the world map. Oops. Here's the world map of fires and of farm animals that have gone up, or they've had to kill. Let me just pull this over here. I'm just going to concentrate on us right now. Where we have this is just a just to give you a little idea. March 8th of 2022, 247,900 chickens were euthanized. In 3/18 of 22, 315,400 chickens euthanized. 5/17/22, 79,000 laying hens euthanized. 3/9 of 22, 139,300 chickens euthanized. And this is just in this little teeny tiny area right here in this map in the New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland area. We're not even going to go over. I mean, this is something that is nationwide. This is something that is affecting our food staples, and it should be very concerning. So, oops. Okay.
Going back to the article we were reading about the timeline, not only have we seen variants, we see transmission to humans. We're seeing the exact same scenario that we have witnessed in late 2019, early 2020.
With the thing we're not supposed to talk about.
Exactly.
So here we've got 2001, first outbreak of BSE occurred in Japan. So we're not just in Britain anymore. Now we've jumped to Japan. April of 2002, the first case appears in the U.S. It was a 22-year-old British woman living in Florida. 2003, a bull in Canada tested positive for it.
Don't forget the Canadian man in the same year.
Was it the Canadian man that was he the vegetarian?
No. Right below April 2002, a Canadian man apparently after contracting the disease in Britain,
we died
from it as well.
Right. Okay. I didn't see that. Wow. December 23rd, 2003, a cow in Washington State tested positive. So this is something that this is amazing. 2004, feeding cow blood, chicken waste, and restaurant scraps to cattle. The FDA banned it. What do you think? January 2004, 143 people in Britain has been affected for it. 180,000 cattle have been diagnosed with it. So it's literally in our food chain.
Absolutely. And keep in mind, a lot of our meat products are processed not in the United States too.
Right. Exactly. So let's take a look at. So I asked a question as we were discussing this earlier, and I asked about a patent. I said, was this, epizootic hemorrhagic disease, was this patented? But I did find a patent for a vaccine for it. But I'm going to tell you, so Kuru there's no cure for Kuru. Literally, there's no cure for it. And from what I read, they have this vaccine, but in order to make sure that there's complete coverage, they would have to start giving this to wild deer. And they do not have the manpower, nor do they have the resources to do this at the moment. So even though they have this vaccine, they literally have no plans on implementing any sort of program to protect our deer, our wildlife, as of right now.
That translates to us humans as well.
That's
I
right.
mean, look what happened with the last thing we're not supposed to talk about. That's still going on today. Everything is under EUA. What goes to say once it really starts spreading to the human population, they won't drop that down on us as well.
Exactly.
And we obviously know that our code had a function that was gained in some sort of facility in a certain red country. Right. So what goes to say that this is not being done as well?
Exactly. This had to have come from somewhere. Just because I didn't find the patent for it doesn't mean there's not a patent out there. Did you see the video of the? Maybe I can find it. Hold on a minute. Okay, here's a question. Everybody in chat who sends me things, who sent me the video of the mosquito with? Oh, somebody. Nope. Never, hold on a second. Somebody tagged me in TikTok. Let me pull it up real quick. Got it. All right. Let me download it real quick. Give me 2 seconds. Let me download it. Oh, I can't download it.
And keep in mind that the majority, if not all, of these diseases occur in a country that is less affluent, more native, and more secretive, which means that it's not generally observed or visited by people from other countries and stuff.
Right. They don't exactly have a tourist, any tourism in this area where this started.
I mean, look at Africa. How much testing was done in that country?
Right. Exactly. Okay, I have this here. Let me pull it up on the screen. So somebody sent me this video or tagged me in this video. So we don't know how this is being we know how this is being transmitted. It's being transmitted by these no-see-ums or mosquitoes, correct? We've already established that. Well, all right, I'm just gonna send this.
Charity says she did that.
Thank you, Charity. I have a funny story about TikTok. I'll tell you guys later. I swear to God, I thought I was sending stuff to Heather for months, and I was sending it to Elizabeth Doolittle. I swear to God, I didn't know it was her. Thank you, Charity. Now I know that's you. Okay, watch this.
Why would bugs have a number stamped on them?
Вот цифра 36, прям видно на ножке. Реально номер какой-то.
Why would bugs have a number stamped on them?
Do you guys remember we told you about the GMO mosquitoes that were being released by Gil Bates in Florida a couple of years ago?
I certainly remember.
Tell me that they're implementing depopulation by infecting our food supply without telling me they're infecting our food supply, okay?
Keep in mind, everything that Gil touches turns to crap.
Well, I put a comment on this video. I said, this is either Bill Gates or Gil Bates, GMO mosquitoes or bugs, or this is DARPA. It's obvious somebody has touched these bugs because they're not naturally numbered. You know, sometimes I just want to throw my hands up and say, I give up. I give up.
It's time to go home. Numbered mosquitoes? Come on, I'm out. Let's go.
Draw the line at mosquitoes. I don't like them anyways. My arm, we were sitting at my son's house about over a week ago now. And, oh God, almost 2 weeks ago now. And I was sitting in my son's side yard. And it was nighttime, and he had lit the citronella candles, but I had gotten back to the hotel room, and I scratch in my sleep. I don't wake up, but I woke up and my arm was tore up, and I still have marks all over my arm. It's just, mosquitoes and I do not get along.
You and my wife both.
Oh, God.
I think y'all as bright as the sun is just attracted to you. That's what it is. Me, I can blend in the dark.
Right.
So I barely get them. Y'all blow in the dark.
Exactly. Oh, too funny. Guys, I mean, look at, if you live in these areas, please contact your local health department and find out, what's going on, what the protocol is going to be for your area. Because we just showed you that when it first started out in Britain, they were telling people there's absolutely nothing to worry about. And within 2 to 5 years, they had a problem. And they're telling us this too. I mean, they've already admitted that it can be transmitted to humans by eating infected meat. But yet I'm not seeing the CDC really doing anything about it or implementing anything in the states that, that this has been found in. Like I said, that's Ohio, New York, the Dakotas. There's quite a few states. Let me pull up a map. Found one earlier.
It's very interesting you say that, because when you find them in that many states, there's a high likelihood that it's in every state.
Yeah.
And when you go back to that movie that is banned from YouTube about water and watching it, I mean, what do most municipalities do with waste? They put it in the bodies of water. Exactly.
We have
as we mentioned, this disease can be used as fertilizer, so it can infect the landscaping, the vegetation. We use our water system to dump waste into.
Wow. Deb just messaged me. She must be typing in chat. I apologize. I cannot watch chat and pull up these these screens for us. But she says, I do know in Wyoming, when you kill a deer, you have to get it tested before you can take it home. Here, that's okay. Here's a map. This is the hemorrhagic disease, is the deadliest killer of whitetails, North American whitetail. This is years 1980 to 2015. That's a lot of places for a disease that can be transmitted to humans, and yet nobody's talking about it. Isn't that interesting?
It is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in the areas where deer are populated the most, too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. What's this one? Susceptible ruminant host, infected ruminant host. So it looks like it can go from deer to bovine to your dog. And then I have this one where it goes to humans.
Imagine you have a house pet that's eating food that has byproducts of an infected animal, and they end up getting infected, and they live in your household.
Right.
And they become hostile and aggressive and end
Right.
up biting somebody.
Right.
You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and because these animals do become aggressive, become listless, aggressive. I mean, you saw. I'm not going to play the video again. You can rewind the video to the beginning if you're just coming in. You could see these animals, these deer, are literally, the skin is falling off them, and they are paying no mind to it. This reminds me literally of zombie, World War Z zombies. You know, the flesh is just sloughing off them, and they don't care. They don't, they're aggressive. They're look at Sierra Leone, 2014, when we have Ebola over there. What is Ebola? It's a hemorrhagic disease. What happens? You get disorientation. Blood flows from every orifice, literally every pore of your body, your ears, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your, whatever, your skin. It's a hemorrhagic disease. It's a hemorrhagic fever. And, this, I don't know why they're not put, you know what? Let me just do something here. It's been a while since I have pulled up RSOE. Let's pull up RSOE and see what we got. I've been slacking, guys. I used to check this every morning. This was on my to-do things before I, get my coffee and read my Bible. I would come in and check things.
Lori, I got a question for you.
Sure.
Now, my memory may be off, but the frontal cortex, that controls emotions in the nervous system, correct? Or is it the back?
Well, let's find out.
The reason why I'm asking, because this type of disease attacks certain parts of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you talked about the deer having meat falling off of their bones and they walk around not care. So it's also affecting the nervous system, which triggers pain when you're in pain. That's a perfect combination for a zombie. Because they feel no pain.
Right. The frontal cortex is responsible for motor function, problem solving, spontaneity, memory, language, initiation, judgment, impulse control, and social and sexual behavior. And cognitive behaviors, maintaining social appropriateness. So, I mean, literally, this would be if somebody were to come up to you and be like, aggression and just coming up and attacking you for no reason. Kind of like the bath salts attacks in Florida a few years ago.
Flocka?
Mm-hmm. Or the bath salts zombie that ate that guy's face off. I'm not seeing anything on the map. There should be something on the map here in Ohio. I'm not seeing it. which is weird because I'm not seeing too much of anything on this map. What the heck? Hold on a minute. Huh. Okay. Well, it is active. All right. Well, it's interesting. And I'm not seeing it. Usually RSOE would. I just got to check down here real quick. I want to see if there's any active cases of Ebola. That's weather. No, I'm not seeing any. Usually, if there is any cases, it's right in this area right here. I don't see any. Interesting. Like I said, I haven't touched this map in a while. But okay. Do you think that this could be one of the, is it the bowls or vials that would be open?
I mean, it could be. I mean, we're looking at CV as the precursor. I mean, Bible talks about, great pestilences.
Yeah.
And we know that these diseases has a 100% death rate.
Exactly. Yeah. Wow.
And with what we witnessed over the past couple of years about how they can manipulate the function of viruses and other forms of diseases and the rise of bioweapons. I mean, this provides a perfect smokescreen. Because it happened a long time ago that is occurring naturally. When in actuality, it's not the case.
It's interesting you use the term smoke screen because that was exactly what I was thinking. They're using all of the, I mean, they're doing these things. They're introducing things into our biosphere that are affecting us and literally killing us. But it's a slow death. It's very slow and calculated. The thing we're not supposed to talk about, CV, was a little bit more quicker. This, I mean, you can have the symptoms for up to a decade, 50 years, decades.
Right. It just all adds up.
Yeah, it does. Especially when you look at, the timing for these food shortages. I mean,
you got the pointy point in you too.
Right.
I mean, not everybody's dropping.
Right. You and I were talking about the railroad before we came on, and apparently there's been a shady backroom deal that the government's made with the railroad. So they've got another 30 days. So that was averted for today, thank goodness. But talking with, we have an associate that was just hired on the railroad, and he was saying that a lot of the employees are pretty upset because this happened in the middle of the night without their knowledge. They didn't even vote on it. So talk about a shady back room deal.
Sounds like what happened in 1932.
Why don't you remind people what happened then?
That's when the backdoor deal between bankers formulate the Federal Reserve. I think it's 1932, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was your ultimate backdoor deal. Wow, backroom deal. Oh boy. Well, look if you know somebody out there who is going to be depending on hunting of any animals from here on out, make sure that you let them know about this. Make sure that you have them check with their local. I don't even know what it's called. Their local.
Fish and Game Commission. It can be a number of different things.
Yeah. Or ask the person when they get their license, if what's going on, what is going to be the policy. Because like Deb said, in Wyoming, you have to have your catch, whatever it is that you caught, you have to have that tested before you can that's the only place I'm seeing it is Wyoming. So,
well, here's the thing: if everything goes down like we really suspect this year, there won't be anybody to be able to do those types of checks, anyways.
right? God. Yeah, exactly. And what you're saying is if if the shit hits the fan like we think it's going to or could possibly do, we're not going to have these regulations to help us out and to test our food before we eat it. We're going to have to be relying on ourselves to take care of and feed our family. So when we go out and we shoot the deer in our backyard, we won't have the capability of knowing whether that meat is tainted or not.
Right. Man, it all go back to relying on the Most High for discernment.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Discernment here. Keep an eye on, the behavior of the animal before you shoot it, because there is a definite behavior. I don't think the worst case scenarios that they showed us on those videos, I really don't think there's too many hunters out there who would be like, look, honey, look what I brought home for dinner. I mean, I certainly, if my husband brought that home, I'd be like, we're not eating that at all. So, Ohio,
some troubling times.
She says Ohio quit issuing fishing inlets since the Big C. Okay, well, that's interesting. But I know a lot of people who hunt without licenses. Go out their back door and hunt on their own property line. So.
I mean, we're just talking about deer. There's other predators out in the wild that hunt deer.
Well, exactly. So, okay, so if you have an infected deer and it gets run over, gets hit by a car, and you have other animals that are coming to feed on it, birds, any kind of other wildlife that would come in and normally consume it, you're looking at a contamination across the board. So even though that squirrel had nothing to do with a deer that you're going to shoot and eat, it may be contaminated as well, right?
Yeah, Randy, you got a good point. Pray over your food before you eat it.
Yeah.
It's the best thing you can do.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. All right, guys. That is all we got. I thought it would be right around an hour, and we are 58 minutes. How about that for planning?
Right?
So I am going to put all of the links in the description area below for you guys. Like I said, if you know anybody who is in the hunting, or somebody in the position that, matter of fact, you know what? I'm going to get a hold of Eric tonight. He's see what he has to say about that for up in Detroit and for Michigan. See if they have anything, if he knows anything about it, and see what he has to offer. But I'm going to put all the links so you can pull it up. Make sure that you talk to people. Maybe you get some more information on your end, wherever you are. We're having a hard time pulling up information on this end, just the fact that, they're warning people and really nothing more than that.
Absolutely.
Final thoughts?
I mean, this could be nothing, but
right.
It could be everything at the same time. So, I mean, just keep a watch out. I mean, we don't do this to fearmonger or be doom and gloom. We just present what is presented to us, and a lot of people get that mixed up. We cover what news has already been brought out to the public.
Yeah, I noticed somebody in the chat room was saying fear porn. I don't see any fear porn. I'm not fearful at all. Anybody within our voice shouldn't be fearful, because fear is not a emotion. It's not a feeling from the Most High. That is definitely not what we're here to do. We're just here to bring you the information. You do what you want with it.
Absolutely. I mean, you can take this and sweep it under the rug, or you can look at stuff for yourself that we presented. I mean, there's nothing that we bring to you guys without having evidence to prove what we say.
Exactly.
Whether it's from the spiritual level or physical level.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's up to you to make that decision. I mean, we all have our own free will.
Study and test all things. Show
Right.
thyself approved. You know, test spirits, test everything.
Absolutely. I mean, we want to be proven wrong. But if you're going to try to prove us wrong, you better make sure you have the evidence to prove it. But
yeah, don't just come in and say, I don't think you're right. Why? I don't feel you're right. I mean, that we don't deal in feelings here. We deal in facts.
Yeah, we don't deal with cognitive dissonance, and we don't deal with people who have their own version of things. We go by facts.
Yeah.
And if you don't like that, you just go on to the next.
Exactly. Just want to remind everybody on Tuesday, the 20th, Hurricane Ann is going to be joining us. And she's going to be a blast. That woman has so much pent up information right now that to tell you the truth, do not even know where the topic of conversation is going to go. So that is going to be a ride you're not going to want to miss. Then on Sunday the 25th, hold on a second. Sunday the 25th, so a week from this coming Sunday, we are going to welcome back Dr. Joy Pugh once again with us. And we're going to pick up our conversation that we had last week. And we're going to start talking about Princess Catherine. Kate Middleton, the new Princess of Wales. And what is her position in these end times? So it's going to be a good show.
Buckle up. It's going to be a wild ride.
Wow, right. Welcome, Erica. You are new to the channel, your first stream here. Welcome. Hit that subscribe button so you know when we go live. Welcome.
You can listen to my corny jokes too. Welcome.
Exactly. If you guys haven't caught the last two episodes of the earlier today, go on over talking about the red heifer that arrived yesterday in Israel. Has to do with the third temple being built. Or I should say the altar that's already been dedicated. These are definitely, these have been confirmed pure red heifers. So this should be interesting where this takes us. They already have the altar. It's been dedicated. They already have the priests ready to to start the sacrifices. They do not need to build that whole temple. They just need the altar, with which they have. And also, we talked earlier this afternoon, this afternoon, talking about UFOs that the astronomers over in Ukraine say that have been sighted above Kiev. So go over and take a look at that. A lot of links underneath in the description as well for you guys. So, all right, I think that's it, Ernie.
I believe that's all for today.
I believe that's all. All right, guys, I do want to thank everybody in our chat room for joining us. As always, I want to thank our moderators for being in there. You guys do a fantastic job. I do want to take a shout out to our newest member of the mod squad, Rick. And you can see him, Richard Dubois, over there. And here's Rick right here. He's looking good in his blue. Welcome to Rick. So, all right, guys. Until next time, which will probably be, I don't know, Sunday, maybe?
More than likely.
More than likely Sunday, but hey, I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. I could wake up and have, people throwing a bunch of stuff at me for tomorrow. So, I don't know. No. Ernie, I'm going to let you take us out.
Remember, guys, spirit of fear does not come from the Most High God. So, as we always say at every broadcast, keep your eyes open, but no fear.
Night, everybody.